If I could only think of how to cut you away, I wouldn't be so frightened or scared to be enlightened. It's kind of difficult to keep my mind on a day that I didn't really mind it. It's in my face, I'll find it. The fields of colors bleeding and it's so far from home. The thoughts keep coming forward, I wish I wasn't so bored. Does it really matter if I'm dying alone? I often try to fake it, what's in my face I'll take it. I'm trying not to break it, the timing it was so right. The heaviness is so light, no more or less is coming. The substance stand for something, you keep speaking easy, you really do believe me. Please tell me where you're going. I hope my fear is showing, 'cause I'll never ever see you again. If I could have the heart to take a knife to my skin, I'd carve your name for comfort, a feeling there of some sort. It's been a small eternity tormenting within, so hard to keep it inside. My mouth waits for the surprise, staring out my window at a bird on the line. I wish I could get
the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter. Baby's got corrosion now. Corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Well now. You guys hear me out there okay? Everything was working this morning. Knock on wood. Normally it doesn't. Like I think Wednesday, the like I said, I did an update on the computer, like right before. It only took like a couple minutes. And then my microphone didn't work and my headphones didn't work. So thanks, Miguel. Appreciate it that you can hear me there. It is Friday the 17th. It is indeed. It's the last day before Saturday. And at least last time I checked. Here in Chicago, though, we're getting a reprieve from the weather. 32 degrees. Some people say a reprieve. Well, yeah, that's balmy compared to the 6. It was here 5 the other night. Yeah, it was crazy. But I think next week, Monday, I think Saturday is going to be the last day of it. And then Sunday is going to get down to the teens again. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to be cold again. Well, they said this was going to be a colder than usual winter. So, whoever they are, were correct in this case. So yeah, Miguel's here. Yes, this is the day after Thursday, parallel to the day of next Friday and the Friday of last. If we're going to go weird, why not? Bella's here. What's up, Bella? Good to see you, my friend. Always good. I always feel like the guy at the bodega whenever I say, when I say my friend, I say, hey, hello, my friend. Do you need matches today? You need straw for drink. No, I didn't even get a drink. Why are you asking me? Rick, what's up, man? Where's your coffee? Someone's going to face your wrath. Hell yeah, man. I got my coffee right here. Mama said work it out. And you know what? She did. This is Mama. Delicious. Mama coffee. Yeah, Rick probably brought up a little bit of that heat from hell. Appreciate you, Rick, for doing that. You're not really worth it during the summer, but during the winter, boy, you really earn your paycheck. That's for sure. Who else we got in the mix? We got Desert Mantis here. What's up, Desert? Good to see you, brother. Bella's here, Max Sarjay's here, Leanna's here. So perfect synchronizing this morning. Good. Leanna, you seem like you're in a good mood. I hope that positivity parlays into something really good for you today. So, and for everybody else too. Who else is in the mix? Chuck's here, floating out in space, hanging out in the upper atmosphere, looking for pickpocket opportunities. I don't know if he's into that anymore. He may have stopped. Kate's here. What's up, Kate? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well this morning, dear. Sushi gang. Yeah, we know who that is. What's up, man? Fucking crazy ass Canadians up in here. These people, I swear to God, man. We have to build a wall to the north. I would make it out of Doritos. And make a wall out of Doritos. Jacqueline's here too. What's up, Jacqueline? Good to see you. Let's see, our usual lurkers on Rockfin and Rumble. We almost didn't have Facebook this morning. We were supposed to broadcast on there, and then it was doing some screwy ooies. I don't even know if it's still up or not. It may be over there. Who knows? So if you're watching on Facebook, hey, and if you're not, well, it's probably my fault. So, it's fine. we'll work it out. It's okay. We're on YouTube, Rockfin, and Rumble too. So if you're like, well, I can't watch it, my stories. I want to watch my stories on Facebook. That's where my stories are. And I got nothing for you. So we'll have it fixed by Monday. So anyway, we got a lot of stuff to do. We got a huge propaganda watch. John Holmes sized propaganda watch for you. 8 stories in there. Because we're always trying, we're about that GLO life. You know what I mean? That good looking out for the peeps. What? You were listening to CBC at the same time? What, you two-fisting them, Kate? What the hell? What's this about? The Facebook wall. They talked about the Facebook wall. I want the MySpace wall, which is made out of candy as well. All right. So, we got a lot of stuff. Actually, not a lot of news, but I can say more propaganda stuff, but we got a healthy amount here. So, of course, we want to remind you about our buddy Chanda, who is dealing with lung cancer and going through the treatments right now. She's Gen X, the chick's a champ, and I say chick with 100% affection and respect. But it costs money, so if you can help out, her GoFundMe is down below. And if you can't donate, if you can share out the link, that works too. And of course, our buddy Kevin over at Black Bear News lost his home in the LA fires. If you could help him out, his donation information is down below too. And Kevin is going to be on ExtraBulla Live next week, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about what he's dealing with, and he's going to be bringing a shit ton of websites and information for us to pour through so that, if people want to help out, we can get more information, more news on it, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's going to be next Wednesday on ExtraBulla Live. Me and him are going to be talking it out. So yeah, we do, Bella. We love Kevin a bunch. Good guy. Hell of a musician. And, just a cool cat. Oh, you played 2 of Kevin's songs on your radio show this morning? Oh, nice. Yeah, we play some of his songs sometimes on Secret Show too. I think we did for New Year's Eve. I think we did that big old lemon pie in the sky. That's nice. That's nice and big old lemon pie in the sky. Yeah, it's good stuff. So help our friends out if you can. Like I said, if you can't throw them any cash, if you could share out the links, that'll work as well. So let's get to it. Before we get to all the news, big loss for us Gen Xers who grew up with this guy's work as David Lynch has passed away, 78 years old. Always with the crazy haircuts till the bitter end. What a great guy. So David Lynch celebrated for films such as Blue Velvet, The Elephant Man, Mulholland Drive, and of course the TV show Twin Peaks, has died at the age of 78. Lynch's family announced his death in a social media post yesterday without offering information regarding the cause of his death. We would appreciate some privacy at this time. There's a big hole in the world now that he's no longer with us, but as he would say, keep your eye on the donut. Wait a minute, let me see if we can do the voice. Keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole, the post states. It's a beautiful day with golden sunshine and blue skies all the way. He had this really weird voice for what he looked like. Born in Montana in the western United States, the acclaimed filmmaker, writer, and artist who earned 3 Oscar nominations for Best Director and 1 nod for Best Adapted Screenplay, won fame with his unique and captivating visions on screen. Inspired by a rundown section of Pennsylvania during his time as an art student in the 1960s at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, Lynch produced the bizarre dreamlike film Eraserhead in 1977. Yeah, if you've dreamlike as in nightmare-ish. It's very it's disturbing, but it's good. But it's disturbing. It was his first major feature, and it gained a cult following with fans, including the famed director Stanley Kubrick. He was always smoking, too. That probably had something to do with his death, I bet you. He followed up that debut with The Elephant Man, which explored the life of a man with physical deformities living in Victorian England. The film was nominated for 8 Oscar awards. Although it failed to win any, The Elephant Man propelled Lynch to a vaunted position in the U.S. film scene. There we go. Yeah, come on. His films would come to feature some of the biggest names in Hollywood: Naomi Watts, Dennis Hopper, Laura Dern, and Nicolas Cage. In 1990, he branched out into television with the cult classic Twin Peaks, which continued his exploration of the uncanny and neo-noir themes. Lynch would later earn the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival in France for his 1990 romantic comedy Wild at Heart. Lynch, who was days away from turning 79, was given an honorary Academy Award in 2019 for his lifetime achievements. In 2006, he also received a Golden Lion Award for his contributions to cinema at the Venice Film Festival. Upon his death, tributes poured out across social media. Fellow director Ron Howard, for instance, remembered Lynch as a gracious man and fearless artist who followed his heart and soul and proved that radical experimentation could yield unforgettable cinema. And how. Even journalists chimed in on their experiences interviewing the late director. When I interviewed David Lynch, he asked for my address, Nick Newman, managing editor of the film publication The Film Stage, wrote in a social media post. A few weeks later, this showed up. Newman then shared a photo of a coffee mug Lynch had signed. He didn't need to do this. Nobody among the scores of people I've interviewed has even approached such generosity. Yeah. So R.I.P. King. Hell of an artist. Hell of a director. And like I said, we grew up with those films. He also directed the 80s version of Dune. And he got a lot of his peeps that he'd worked with before, including the guy in Eraserhead. The guy in Eraserhead, I think, went on to become Baron Harkonnen. In the 80s movies version of theirs. So fun fact, he's, those people, they just interchange. You see him on other projects they're doing. They usually like to work together and stuff. So anyway, getting the Hollywood stuff out of the way, getting the Gen X memorabilia out of the way too. So R.I.P. King. They're dropping off like flies, man. Bob Uecker too, radio guy, but of course he wasn't he on that was he on that show with Emmanuel Lewis? And I don't know. He was one of these 80s TV guys too, but he was a baseball player too. Anyway, so let's get to the real news of the day. So this is what we were talking about the other day, that this broke, but now it's official as Gaza Truce is signed, despite last minute issues. So they come to an agreement for a ceasefire. Finally, Israel and Hamas have finalized and signed a ceasefire agreement to end 15 months of conflict in Gaza, Al Arabiya wrote on Thursday, citing sources there. The deal brokered by the United States, Qatar, and Egypt includes a 42-day truce and a prisoner exchange. Earlier on Thursday, Israel delayed a cabinet vote on the ceasefire deal, blaming Hamas for reneging on parts of the agreement. The military group has rejected the claims. According to Al Arabiya, the Israeli delegation left the Qatari capital Doha after overcoming the differences regarding the agreement, noting that the agreement almost collapsed had it not been for the mediators. It was agreed that Israel would reduce its raids on Gaza starting Friday evening, sources told the channel. Another dispute solved was Hamas's demands regarding the names of senior Palestinian prisoners to be released from Israeli jails in the second phase of the deal. So this is going to be in phases. The agreement is set to commence on Sunday, as confirmed by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who expressed confidence in the truce's initiation despite the last-minute issues. It's not exactly surprising that in a process and negotiation that has been this challenging and this fraught, you may get a loose end, he said yesterday. We're tying up that loose end as we speak. Some media have attributed the failure to ratify the agreement by Israel to opposition from key parties in Israel's governing coalition. The Religious Zionism Party and its leader, Israel's far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich, have condemned the deal and threatened to quit if the Jewish state does not return to war after the first stage of the ceasefire. Wow. The agreement was announced on Wednesday by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump and subsequently confirmed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The deal is expected to include 3 phases, each lasting 42 days. Interesting number there. And apparently Donald Trump sent his foreign envoy there too, and basically told Bibi, he said, wait, it's the Sabbath. He's like, we ain't gonna fuck about your Sabbath, all right? We got business to attend to, so basically that's how that went down. And this is going to be, and people are going to be talking about this too, about is Trump really a friend of Israel? Of course he is. Of course he's a friend of Israel. This is all theater stuff. Yeah, it's all theater stuff. During the first phase, Hamas will release 33 Israeli hostages, including women, children, and men over 50, in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, alongside a partial withdrawal of Israeli forces and increased humanitarian aid to Gaza. Negotiations for the second phase, starting on day 16, aimed to secure the release of all remaining Israeli captives, a permanent ceasefire, and a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza in exchange for over 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. The third phase focuses on the return of bodies and Gaza's reconstruction under the supervision of Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations. Israel intensified its airstrikes across Gaza just hours after a truce deal on Wednesday. According to health officials in the enclave, at least 70 people were killed overnight due to the attacks. The airstrikes occurred while people were taking to the streets to celebrate the truce. The IDF told CNN they had conducted strikes on approximately 50 terror targets, emphasis mine, across the Gaza Strip over the previous 24 hours, blaming Hamas for firing a rocket into Israel on Thursday. Hamas claimed that an airstrike had targeted a site where a female Israeli hostage was being held. So, let's try that again. So now that total is up to 87. So according to Dave DeCam here at antiwar.com. So Israeli strikes on Gaza have been relentless since it was announced the ceasefire deal, which is expected to take place Sunday. So they said at least 87 Palestinians had been killed since the ceasefire was announced, including 21 children and 25 women. At least 40 of the dead were killed since dawn of Thursday. So there was heavy bombing in northern Gaza and Jabalia. At least 20 Palestinians were killed. They also pounded Gaza City, including an attack that hit a school-turned-shelter. Yet another school-turned-shelter is bombed, killing at least 2 children there. So they said, like we said, they bombed 50 targets across Gaza, but, these were not... They're schools. Everything is Hamas. So, and this is what they did in Lebanon too, the run up to the ceasefire there. Boom, 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 try and blow up and kill as many people as possible. So, in its update Thursday, Gaza's health ministry said that the latest death toll now in the of numbers that they know of right now, not counting those that are under the rubble and unaccounted for. So their number is close to almost 47,000, with the wounded over 110,000. So, yeah, so, and the people there are just like, ceasefire. Yeah, we've seen this movie before. We know that Israel's not going to stop bombing us or stop doing, the things that the U.S. is going to allow them to do, because the U.S. is not going to put their thumb down. And this guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but the guy who was the foreign envoy for Trump that went over there, I guess he's like some sort of real estate guy or something like that. I mean, he's just like pulling a Sopranos on him, saying, hey, yeah, you're working on the Sabbath today, and we're going to get this shit done. So, I don't know. Maybe he threatened him. Maybe he said, look, we're going to take away all your shit, but, we know who's really running things, though. So, I don't know. That's why I think it's theater, because Trump, Trump works for Israel 100%. But I tell you what, there's not everybody is on board with Israel there, as the Haredi Jews protest against army recruitment and clash with Israeli police. Still not having it, they said. I'm paraphrasing. Dozens of ultra-Orthodox Jews clashed with Israeli police during a protest on Wednesday against plans to force them to enlist in the army. The Israeli Broadcasting Authority said ultra-Orthodox Jews, known as Haredi Jews, gathered in front of the Israeli Army's largest recruitment center in the Tel Hashomer area near Tel Aviv to protest recruitment plans, according to the Middle East Monitor. They closed a road. They closed a road and scuffled with police, who declared the demonstration illegal and attempted to disperse them. Death is better than recruitment, some shouted. Damn. In June last year, Israel's Supreme Court mandated the drafting of ultra-Orthodox Jews into the army and banned financial aid to religious institutions whose students refused military service. Again, from Memo. The decision sparked backlash, with Israel's former chief Sephardic Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef urging Haredi yeshiva students to reject enlistment notifications. In November, the Israeli Defense Ministry reportedly announced the drafting of 7,000 ultra-Orthodox Jews into the Israeli military. Haredi Jews make up about 13% of Israel's population of approximately 9.9 million and do not serve in the military, instead dedicating their lives to studying the Torah, according to the report. Israeli law requires all Israelis over 18 to serve in the military, and the exemption of Haredi has been a contentious issue for decades. According to the Israel Hayom newspaper, approximately 500 officers holding the rank of major resigned from the Israeli army since mid-2024, causing a critical personnel crisis. This exodus, how about that for a word? Kind of appropriate. Israel Hayom reported in December has caught military leadership off guard and threatens force readiness. The report said the crisis compounds an existing personnel shortage, noting that in 2022, a record 613 majors left career service, slowing down after the military onslaught on Gaza began in October 2023. Current trends suggest even higher resignation rates this year. The ongoing Israeli assault on the Gaza Strip, which began in 2023, has led to a humanitarian crisis of unprecedented scale, and the death toll among besieged and starved Palestinian civilians continues to rise daily. Israel is currently facing charges of genocide against Palestinians before the ICJ, that's the International Court of Justice, and there's those numbers again. So, let's see. Yeah, so basically that's all for that. So they're continuing to say, no, we're not going to join this, because they're about studying the Torah, right? They're not. But that's how how far is Israel going to go to make the greater Israel? They're going to need the numbers, and how are they going to persuade these Haredi Jews to do that? I don't know. It's going to be crazy. What's this, Chad? Probably why they've agreed to the ceasefire deal, so they can regroup. No one thinks it's going to be permanent. Israel will break the agreement sooner or later. Of course they will, because they always do break it. They always break it. That's the one constant in this whole thing. They always break the ceasefire. All right. So Hamas is down, but they're rejecting Netanyahu's allegations, even though they're committed to the ceasefire deal. This is senior Hamas leader Izzat al-Rishq. So the Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas, has reaffirmed its commitment to the ceasefire agreement announced on Wednesday, despite Israeli claims of last-minute changes by the Palestinian group. So Izzat al-Rishq, a senior Hamas leader, stated on Thursday that the movement is fully committed to the terms of the ceasefire agreement. This comes after Israeli Prime Minister Shidhead earlier statements which suggested that Hamas had backed away from certain parts of the agreement, delaying Israel's approval. Just more mind games from Israel. Netanyahu claimed that Hamas was attempting to extract additional concessions and insisted that the Israeli government would not set a date for a security cabinet meeting until the mediators confirmed that Hamas had agreed to all aspects of the deal. Following this, Israeli Army radio reported that a scheduled cabinet meeting was postponed indefinitely with no new date set for the session. An unnamed Israeli official later added that the ceasefire would not be officially implemented until both the Israeli government and the security cabinet gave their approval. The ceasefire agreement, which marks a significant step towards ending the 15-month Israeli military campaign in Gaza, was announced by Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani during a press conference in Doha on Wednesday evening. The agreement is set to take effect Sunday, as we said. And then it follows all these, and then this is the rest of the information we were talking about earlier there. As far as the ceasefires going, the Yemenis are they're taking a look at this and following along very closely. Still very loyal to the people of Gaza. This is from Dave DeCamp. Yemen's Houthis to stop attacks on Israel if Gaza ceasefire is implemented. So, they're no fools. They know Israel is not going to stop. So they're like, yeah, we'll stop if you stop. Yemen's Houthis are expected to stop their attacks on Israel and Red Sea shipping if Israel upholds its end of the Gaza ceasefire deal it's reached with Hamas. The Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, began their attacks in 2023 in response to the U.S.-backed Israeli onslaught in Gaza. The U.S. began a bombing campaign against the Yemeni group in January last year, but it has only escalated the situation. President Biden's special envoy to Yemen, Tim Lenderking, has previously acknowledged that the Houthis would likely stop their attacks if there were a ceasefire in Gaza. On Thursday, Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi said Ansar Allah would monitor the ceasefire, which is expected to take effect Sunday, and warned there would be more attacks if Israel didn't follow the deal. We will continue to monitor developments in Palestine during the 3 days prior to the entry into force of the Gaza agreement. If the Israeli massacres continue, we will continue our operations, al-Houthi said. At any stage in which the aggression retreats from the agreement, we will be ready to provide military support to our Palestinian brothers, al-Houthi added. Al-Houthi's comment signaled that Yemeni attacks on Israel could continue until the ceasefire is implemented. since Israel has continued to bomb Gaza. In recent weeks, the Houthis have stepped up missile attacks on Israel, with some making it past air defenses. Israel has responded with heavy airstrikes on Yemen, including U.S. and U.K. too, which have only hit civilian targets, because that's what Israel does. Everybody else goes after military targets. Israel, they go after civilian targets, because everybody's Hamas, right? Al-Houthi vowed Yemen would not back in the face of further attacks. He said Ansar Allah will confront any aggression, whether by the Israelis, the Americans, or their allies, or any attempts to divert our country from its liberated jihadist path. So he said, not buying this ceasefire bullshit. I'll believe it when I see it, if I see it. So now, with Syria being all up in poo-poo hell, as Israel's just kind of making their way across there, they're finally starting to put on their big boy pants over there. Syrian militant leader demands Israeli withdrawal. Might be too little too late there, pal. Israeli troops that have advanced into Syria should withdraw, and UN peacekeepers ought to deploy in the buffer zone. The head of the militants who took power in Damascus, Abu Muhammad al-Jilani, has demanded. He's the head of HTS, which seized power in Damascus last month after more than a decade of fighting against President Bashar al-Assad. The IDF used the opportunity to advance beyond their previous positions in the Golan Heights and seize the strategic Mount Hermon. Israel's advance in the region was due to the presence of Iranian militias and Hezbollah, al-Jilani told Reuters on Thursday, arguing that this presence is no more. So they're not there anymore, so why are they there? The new Syrian government is ready to support the deployment of UN forces in the buffer zone and has called for the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Israel first gained control of the Golan Heights in 1967 after defeating Syria and Egypt in a 6-day war. Damascus failed to retake the strategic region in 1973. West Jerusalem officially annexed the territory in 1981, although this move has not been internationally recognized. A buffer zone between the Israeli-controlled territory and Syria has long been manned by the UN observation mission. As the HTS advanced on Damascus last month, the IDF moved into the buffer zone and in some instances advanced past it into Syrian territory. Israeli Prime Minister Shitface visited the IDF position on Mount Hermon in mid-December, calling it an exciting historical moment. Within days, he announced a 40 million shekel, that's $11 million plan to double the Israeli population of the Golan Heights. Again, that is part of the greater Israel plan, expanding into these areas, expanding the size of Jerusalem. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, the ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife both sentenced to jail in a corruption case. Man, Bibi is just a bad, that's just a bad luck name, I think. Come on, can we go down, please? All right, sorry. So, Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan was sentenced today to 14 years in prison, and his wife Bushra Bibi, that sounds like a porn movie that Netanyahu would be in, to 7 years in a case related to the misuse of authority and corruption involving Khan's Al-Qadir University Project Trust. Khan was also given a fine of 1 million Pakistani rupees, that's 3,500 American, while Bibi was fined half that amount. An accountability court operating from Adiala jail in Rawalpindi, where Khan has been imprisoned since August 2023, had reserved its verdict in December last year and deferred the announcement 3 times. Bibi was arrested at the court premises. Khan, who did not appear before the court on January 13th when the decision was delayed for a 3rd time, had earlier claimed the delays were an attempt to pressurize him. This marks the fourth major case in which the former prime minister has been convicted. 3 earlier convictions announced in January last year were related to selling state gifts, leaking state secrets, and unlawful marriage, all of which were overturned or suspended. Despite this, Khan remains behind bars with dozens of cases pending against him, a situation he described as a political witch hunt. Khan was first arrested in connection with the Al-Qadir Trust case in May 2023, spending less than 2 days in detention. However, the arrest led to nationwide protests during which Khan's supporters rioted in multiple cities. Faisal Farid Chaudhry, Khan's lawyer, condemned the decision as a continuation of bogus persecution against Khan and his wife. It is perhaps the only case where the National Accountability Bureau, NAB, couldn't establish a loss of even a single penny, the lawyer told Al Jazeera. Chaudhry added that NAB failed to provide evidence of any financial loss to the state or any connection between the Al-Qadir Trust and personal financial gain for Khan and his family. Criminal proceedings against Khan and Bushra Bibi were not proven during prosecution. The entire case is politically motivated. I fail to understand how establishing a trust constitutes a conflict of interest, the lawyer said. Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the PTI party, echoed Chaudhry in its first statement on the verdict. While the party awaits the detailed decision, it's important to note that the Al-Qadir Trust case against Imran Khan and Bushra Bibi lacks any solid foundation and is bound to collapse, the PTI said. All evidence and witness testimonies confirm that there has been no mismanagement or wrongdoing. Imran Khan and Bushra Bibi are merely trustees with no further involvement in the matter. Hey, what's up, Willie? Good to see you, my man. Willie Bragg in the house. Hope you're doing well, my friend. The charge sheet accused Khan and his wife of acquiring land worth billions of rupees for the Al-Qadir Trust from Malik Riaz, a prominent property tycoon in Pakistan, to establish a nonprofit educational institute for the poor. The NAB alleged that Khan, as prime minister from August 2018 to April 2022, made a quid pro quo deal with Riaz, enabling him to launder more than $239 million. This allegedly caused significant losses to the national treasury. According to the NAB, the PTI government gave legal cover to Riaz's black money, which had been recovered by the UK's National Crime Agency and handed over to the Pakistani government. Khan was ousted from power in April 2022 via a parliamentary vote of no confidence, which he attributes to a conspiracy involving the country's military and the United States. Allegations both have denied. Of course, the U.S. is going to deny it, little sneaky bastards. Pakistan's military has held significant political influence, ruling the nation directly for nearly 3 decades since its formation in 1947, and was once seen as Khan's benefactor and architect of his rise to power before the two fell out. While no prime minister in Pakistan's history has completed their tenure, no prime minister in Pakistan's history has completed their tenure. Wow. 3 of 4 military dictators ruled for nearly a decade each. The verdicts against Khan and his wife coincide with ongoing negotiations between the PTI, pretty young thing, and the current government of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on several issues, including Khan's release. Islamabad-based lawyer Hafiz Ahsan Kokar said that the case involved exhaustive proceedings with at least 100 hearings in the past year. The core issue is money laundering, and NAB provisions are explicit regarding dishonesty and misuse of authority by public office holders. Additionally, both the Supreme Court and the federal cabinet were misled, and state money was unlawfully redirected for personal gain, Kokar told Al Jazeera. Political analyst Majid Nizami said that Al-Qadir Trust case stands out among the dozens against Khan due to the extensive documentation and time taken for prosecution. This case has lasted the longest, with thousands of pages of evidence presented. There were certainly irregularities warranting investigation, Nizami told Al Jazeera. However, the analyst also highlighted the long history of political victimization in Pakistan. Instead of focusing on justice, our history shows we tend to focus on vindictiveness. In this case, too, the discourse will revolve around political victimization rather than the merits or demerits of the case, he added. With 3 rounds of negotiations already held between the government and PTI, pretty young thing, but Nizami fears the conviction might derail the talks. When talks began, it was agreed that dialogue would continue regardless of the verdict, but the conviction may strain these efforts. The Lahore-based Nizami warned. Lahore, giggity. He suggested that internal divisions within the PTI might resurface, with factions supporting resistance likely prevailing over those advocating for patience and dialogue. This could once again lead to a more aggressive stance by PTI going forward, he said. So, the tale of Imran Khan and his wife, Bushra Bibi, giggity goo goo. Now they've been sentenced to 8 and 16 years, I think. Is that what we said? But I'm sure they're going to appeal, and so the drama with that continues. Meanwhile, that little Muppet guy, what's his name? Zelensky over there in Ukraine. He's been meddling in other people's election. They said the Russian interference in elections, but look at Zelensky. He's not Russian. The only thing he's Russian to interfere in somebody's election. That's what he's too soon. So he's accused of this fucking around in Poland, I guess. So. Politicians from Poland's Opposition Law and Justice, the PIS party, it says PIS, folks, I'm calling it PIS, have accused Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky of interfering in their country's upcoming presidential election. The claims follow comments Zelensky made earlier this week about PIS presidential candidate Karol Nawrocki. Oh, that's a great name. Nawrocki. Live at the Civic Center, Karol Nawrocki with special guest Crocus. The right-wing politician claimed last week that Kiev could have no future in the EU or NATO until it takes responsibility for the World War II Volhynia massacres, regarded as a genocide in Poland. The mass murder spree saw up to 120,000 Poles, Jews, Roma, Armenians, including women and children, killed by the nationalist Ukrainian Insurgent Army, the UPA. If Ukraine is not in the EU and not in NATO, if there are no security guarantees for Ukraine, then Pan Nawrocki should start training because it may turn out that he won't have to take up arms, Zelensky responded in an interview with local media during his visit to Poland on Wednesday. The remarks sparked outrage in Poland. Former Prime Minister and PiS deputy Mateusz Morawiecki suggested that the Ukrainian leader deal with Ukraine's affairs and we will choose our president ourselves. So basically say, mind your business there, you Muppet, you cocaine sniffing Muppet. He has the right and even a duty to defend his country's interests, but it is we who decide who the candidate is and what views they hold on the most fundamental issues, a politician told Radio WNet on Thursday. Morawiecki also reproached Zelensky for his open support of the presidential candidate from the ruling Civic Coalition Party, Rafal Trzaskowski. He described the Ukrainian leaders meeting with TRZ and statements about the opposition candidate as inappropriate. I think Zelensky did not prepare well for this visit and bet on one candidate. He made a big mistake, Morawiecki concluded. Another PiS politician, former education minister Przemysław Czarnek, took to tweeters to urge Zelensky to apologize. Dude, he starts off with dude. I love it. Dude, what are you talking about? Don't you remember there would be no Ukrainian army and there wouldn't be one without Europe, especially Poland, and our help for you. Cool down and apologize. This is what this Zarnek person said. Dude, he started off with dude. At least he didn't say bruh. I can't stand people who say bruh. That's just so lazy. Come on. Let's bring back dude. Can we bring back dude? EU and NATO member Poland have been on Kiev's staunchest, one of Kiev's staunchest supporters since the escalation of the Ukraine conflict, supplying armored vehicles, artillery systems, and a maximum number of MiG-29 jets. Since 2022, Warsaw has provided Kiev with over $4.6 billion in aid, more than 70% of which has been military assistance, according to Germany's Kiel Institute. Yes. Dude. 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 I mean, yeah, come on. I like it. He's like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, you always got friends who are like that. You'll be doing something stupid, and you'll have that one friend to go, dude, bruh. I hate the bruh. The bruh seems like a new thing. I never said bruh when I was younger. I always said dude. I am a staunch supporter of dude. I will always be a dude. I will never be a bruh dude. You call me bruh, I will be like, you call me dude, I'll be like, oh, hey, hello, friend. It's good to see you. No bras for me. I like to go braless. Thanks. Meanwhile, France and Algeria are having a hot time in the Old Town tonight as France to decide response to Algeria hostility as tensions mount. Yes, let's have more people warring around the world, shall we? Add to the chaos. Bruh. Ugh. President Emmanuel Macron and key members of the government will meet in the coming days to decide how to respond to what Paris deems as growing hostility from Algeria, France's foreign minister said on Wednesday. Ties between Paris and Algiers have been complicated for decades, but have taken a turn for the worse since last July, when Macron angered Algeria by recognizing a plan for autonomy for the Western Sahara region under Moroccan sovereignty. Although diplomatic ties have not been ruptured, French officials say Algiers is adopting a policy that aims to wipe France's economic presence from the country, with trade falling by as much as 30% since the summer. A poor relationship has major security, economic, and social repercussions. Trade is extensive, and some 10% of France's 68 million population has links to Algeria, according to French officials. The relationship between France and Algeria is not a bilateral relationship like any other. It is a relationship of deep intimacy. Oh, that is so French. Jean-Noël Barrot told lawmakers accusing Algeria of taking a hostile posture. Well, in deep intimacy, sometimes you do take a hostile posture, especially if you pay extra and you're the one wearing the gimp suit. Barrot has offered to go to Algeria to discuss the standoff. In November, Algeria's banking association tested the waters verbally to suggest a directive to end banking transactions to and from France, although did not go through with it given the extensive nature of trade ties between the two countries, 3 diplomats said. Diplomats and traders say French firms are no longer being considered in tenders for wheat imports to Algeria, to which France has been a key exporter. Beyond business, Macron accused Algiers of dishonoring itself by detaining arbitrarily Franco-Algerian author Boualem Sansal, whose health has worsened in recent weeks. Algeria's president Abdelmadjid Tebboune has called Sansal an imposter sent by France. With the fake mask and everything, like in Scooby-Doo. With Macron's government under pressure to toughen immigration policies, a diplomatic spat also broke out last week after several Algerian social media influencers were arrested in France and accused of inciting violence. One was deported to Algiers, where authorities sent him back to Paris, citing legal procedures. That sparked anger among France's right-wing parties, and Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau accused Algiers of trying to humiliate the former colonial power. This is a violation of the texts that govern our relationship, and it is a precedent that we consider serious, Barrot said, adding that this and the arrest of Sansal had forced Paris's hands to decide how to respond. Algeria Foreign Ministry denied on Saturday it was seeking escalation with France and said the far right in France was carrying out a disinformation campaign against Algeria. The relationship between the two countries is scarred by the trauma of the 1954 to 1962 independence war, in which the North African country broke with France. About 400,000 Algerian civilians and fighters were killed, as well as about 35,000 French and as many as 30,000 Muslim Harkis who fought in the French army against Algerian insurgents. Macron has over the years pushed for more transparency regarding France's past with Algeria, while also saying that Algeria's politico-military system had rewritten the history of its colonization by France based on a hatred of France. Jalal Harchawi, associate fellow at the Royal United Services Institute, said the countries were locked in an escalating standoff. Many politicians in Paris say they want to force Algeria to soften its position, but Algiers has every intention to stand firm. Algeria feels all the more emboldened by the fact that France is far less important to its economy than a few years ago, he said. Right? So that is happening. More tensions around the world there now, France and Algeria. Now Taiwan is picking at the scab, as it were. Taiwan military mulls recruiting foreigners to defend against China. And you know China is probably going to be like, you know what? We're not really down with that. So Taiwan is considering enlisting foreign nationals to strengthen its armed forces as concerns grow over a potential invasion by China. Lawmakers in Taipei are proposing the creation of a foreign legion for Taiwan's military, modeled after similar programs in other countries. In the U.S., foreign recruits can serve for 2 years before being granted citizenship, providing a pathway for continued military service. The proposal comes as Taiwan grapples with a decline in its armed forces. There seems to be a trend as there's a decline in the armed forces of Israel and other, in the United States too. Reports indicate an increasing number of troops opting for early discharge, leaving the island nation with approximately 150,000 active duty personnel supported by 1.6 million reservists. By comparison, China reportedly maintains over 2 million active soldiers and 500,000 reservists. According to Alexander Huang, a security expert and professor at Tam Kang University, Taiwan's volunteer force saw a decrease of 12,000 personnel between January 2022 and June of last year. This figure is projected to decline further by another 5,000 in 2025, potentially reaching a 7-year low. The Legislative Yuan's Budget Center reports that Taiwan's military is operating at an average of 20% below its personnel requirements. Oof. Running low. There are many reasons behind the fall, stated retired Admiral Richard Chen Yong Kang, a legislator from the Kuomintang Party. The Wuntang. First of all, Taiwan has a very low birth rate, which is currently the second slowest in Asia, he told Radio Free Asia. Chen also pointed to stiff competition, giggity, from the private sector alongside relatively low salaries and benefits as reasons military service is less appealing to young people. Maybe also the fact that they're finding out that the military is bullshit. If approved, a foreign legion could provide a critical boost to Taiwan's defense capabilities. The island is home to nearly 1 million foreign residents as it is. So sign them up, give them some guns, come on. Then they come out there and die for a cause that probably won't do the thing there. Yeah. Anybody else show up here? Everybody? No? Oh, Yipper's here. What's up, Yipper? Good to see you. Yeah, he did. He ruined bruh. Somebody did. Oh, you're talking about something else. Never mind. So, everybody's talking about Russia this, Russia that, in the United States, like, oh, the evil empire, this axis of evil. We hate Russia so much, says the United States government. But guess what? U.S. admits it still buys nuclear fuel from Russia, not Russia, New Mexico, or Russia, Florida, or Russia, the country, the one we're sanctioning right now. So, the United States remains reliant on Russian nuclear fuel, with 1/5 of its supply still coming from Moscow. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Resources Jeffrey Pyatt has admitted under torture. No, he just freely said he wasn't tortured. The U.S. Department of Energy previously expressed serious concerns about Washington's reliance on Russian nuclear fuel, underlying the need to reduce and ultimately to eliminate it. You think, since you want to go to war with these motherfuckers, the United States still gets about 20% of our nuclear fuel from Russia, so it's going to take time to build out a non-Russian supply chain for those nuclear fuel materials. Pyatt, who was U.S. ambassador to Ukraine during the 2014 Maidan coup, confessed on Wednesday during an event hosted by Washington-based think tank Atlantic Council. No, go up. You are just psycho today. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the EIA, which is Dollar Tree CIA, I guess. So you don't get DIA, so now you go do EIA. Russia supplied approximately 27% of the enriched uranium purchased by U.S. civilian nuclear reactors in 2023. Last year, U.S. President Joe Biden banned uranium imports from Russia by signing into law the Prohibiting Russian Uranium Imports Act. However, a system of waivers allowed purchases under specific conditions until 2028. How about that? In response to the ban in November, the Russian government announced a temporary cap on the export of enriched uranium to the U.S. While the U.S. has its own uranium deposits, production has dwindled over recent decades. Market competition from lower-cost foreign producers, along with environmental concerns, have largely sidelined domestic mining and enrichment operations, the online platform Nuclear Insider noted. There are lots of very important political decisions to be made about nuclear and uranium supply chain investments, Nick Lawson, of the chief executive of investment group Ocean Wall, has told the Financial Times. The building of new facilities would take years and cost huge sums of money, he added. Washington has committed billions of dollars to expand domestic production of nuclear fuel. The Prohibiting Russian Uranium Imports Act authorized $2.72 billion in federal funding to invest in U.S.-based uranium enrichment facilities. Russia plays a critical role in the global enriched uranium market, holding a dominant position in both enrichment capacity and supply. The most recent data shows Russia accounts for approximately 44% of the world's uranium enrichment capacity, making it the largest single player in the sector. Prices for enriched uranium surged to a record high earlier this month as big tech companies such as Microsoft and Amazon have become interested in using the fuel to power the energy-thirsty data centers amid competition for market share in generative AI. Yeah, and I think it was Microsoft who's trying to buy a nuclear power plant so they can run all this AI shit. So, they're buying up farmland. Now they're going to buy up nuclear plants, You will own nothing. You will eat the bugs. Is that the thing? So Greenland, has been hearing all this shit about Trump wanting to buy Greenland or he's going to take it over, whatever, And it's always like that guy at the bar. He's sitting there and his friend's talking all this shit. He said, man, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to bust that dude right in the face, man. He talked about my woman like that. I'm going to go, hey, watch this. You watch this. I'm going to go up there. And the other guy's like, man, you ain't going to do shit. So Greenland responds to Trump's acquisition proposal. Greenlandic Prime Minister Mute Egede I didn't read these names in advance, so this might be fun, has rejected Donald Trump's proposal to buy the Arctic island, asserting that Greenlanders do not want to be Americans. However, the Danish Autonomous Territory will always remain a strong partner of the U.S., he added. So basically he said, look, I don't like you like that, but, we can still be friends, while I date other people. In an interview with Fox News on Thursday, Ageti addressed Trump's renewed interest in acquiring Greenland from Denmark, citing national security concerns. We're close neighbors. We have been cooperating in the last 80 years, and I think in the future we have a lot to offer to cooperate with, Ageti said, insisting that Greenland would always be a part of NATO and a strong partner of the U.S. It's like, they're saying, look, we don't have to get married, man. We can still be fuck buddies. Come on. Why you want to ruin it? But we want to be clear. We don't want to be Americans. We don't want to be part of the U.S., the Prime Minister emphasized. He said, Islanders do not want to be Danes either. We want to be Greenlanders, he said, because they live in Greenland. That makes sense. Trump had initially suggested buying Greenland from Denmark in 2019 during his first presidential term, but the ambitious plan fell short at the time due to strong opposition from the authorities both in Copenhagen and in the Autonomous Territory. Earlier this month, speaking at a press conference at Mar-a-Lago, the president-elect refused to rule out using economic measures or military action to achieve this goal. Officials in Denmark have also rejected the possibility of selling the island. Greenland is not for sale and will not be in the future either, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said earlier this month. The Arctic island, which has a population of around 57,000, hosts the U.S. Pituffik Space Base, which plays a significant role in NATO defenses due to its strategic location. Greenland became an autonomous territory of Denmark in 1979 after 70.1% of voters supported the Home Rule Act. The island, which has its own government while Denmark retains control over foreign affairs and defense, has been gradually seeking more sovereignty. A 2019 poll suggested that nearly 68% of Greenlanders supported independence from Denmark within the next 2 months. And see, what Trump wants to do, he wants to melt all that ice off of Greenland and get all the stuff that's under there. Apparently there's all kinds of natural resources and shit down there that he wants. Fucking Greenland, this is some dumb 80s movie shit. There's like that movie Canadian Bacon. I think it was from the 80s where the United States planned to invade Canada, declare war on them and invade them. That sounds like that kind of dumb. Trump's trying to make an 80s movie. Don't be listening to his dumb shit. Come on. So with Mark Rubio being picked to be the Secretary of State, God help us all, Ron DeSantis has to pick his replacement. He picks Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody to fill Rubio's ruby shoes. His ruby shoes. Not his boogie shoes, like the song. Boom. I want to put on my boogie shoes. These are ruby shoes. These are Rubio shoes. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis appointed State Attorney General Ashley Moody to the U.S. Senate, setting her up to fill the seat of Senator Marco Rubio, whom President-elect Donald Trump chose to be Secretary of State. Trump selected Rubio shortly after he won the presidential election, handing DeSantis a Senate appointment that is likely to have ripple effects across Florida government and politics. It has widely been expected in recent weeks that Moody would be the pick, while others, including Representatives Kat Cammack, is that how you say that name, and Corey Mills, did talk to DeSantis about the position. DeSantis had said publicly he had reservations about appointing a member of the House because of the GOP's slim majority there. State Senator Jay Collins, who served as a Green Beret, also got considerable support from conservatives who wanted DeSantis to pick a military veteran. I think that's the lady. That's Ashley Moody right there. But ultimately, the seat will go to Moody, who easily won her first election in 2018 to become Attorney General and her re-election bid in 2022. She was unable to run again because of term limits. She'll have to run in a 2026 special election to keep the seat for the final 2 years of Rubio's term. Mills has already said he's running for the Senate in 2026, as first reported by Politico, and Kamak is considering a run, meaning Moody is likely going to face Republican primary challengers. Asked about the possibility of running in 2026 at the Capitol, Mills told NBC News, "We're keeping our eye on the seat. We'll see how she votes and how she supports the president. I respect the governor's decision always. I think he's a great governor. He's the best governor we have in America. But that's not to say that 2026 doesn't shape up to potentially see a primary." Gross. Best governor. Right now, though, Moody's appointment will set a record for Republican women in the Senate, according to data from the Center for American Women in Politics. When she takes the seat, there will be 10 GOP senators, assuming 10 female senators, or woman senators, however you say it. Moody is a close ally of DeSantis, and she has served as his chief legal bulldog in a host of high-profile political fights with the Biden administration. Most recently, Moody's office, which is technically separate from the governor's office, sued the Justice Department in October over what she argued was a federal government effort to block Florida's own investigation into the second attempt to assassinate Trump, which happened in September at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. Every day that Florida is prevented from investigating the state's case becomes harder to prove at trial, Moody argued in the suit. By contrast, the federal government suffers no injury from Florida investigating state law crimes, as the state has no intention of interfering with or obstructing the federal investigation. DeSantis has said he believes the federal government stonewalled Florida's ability to conduct its own investigation. Moody said the state's independent investigation was needed in part because the Justice Department should not have been investigating an attempted assassination on Trump while simultaneously trying to prosecute him. Since Trump won the election in November, special counsel Jack Smith, who was leading federal cases against Trump over whether he tried to overturn the 2020 election and over allegations he mishandled classified documents, has resigned, as we told you before, and those cases against Trump have ended. He was sentenced to naughty time in the corner for 5 minutes. In December, Moody also released an arrest affidavit for Ryan Routh, who is accused of being the gunman behind the second assassination attempt. She said a traffic backup that resulted from searching for Routh led to an accident that injured a 6-year-old girl. Routh is in federal custody and faces 5 charges related to the attempted assassination. Moody also sued the Biden administration to try and block a rule Moody argued would have forced doctors to provide gender transition care against their judgment. Transgender issues have been one of the main culture war fights DeSantis has focused on as governor there. DeSantis had not signaled publicly whom he would pick to fill Rubio's seat, but he has said the person will be a hardliner on immigration, including pushing reforms for the so-called H-1B visa program, which has been the subject of intense internal post-election fights among Trump's own supporters. Trump backers like billionaire tech mogul Elon Musk have said the program offers lower-cost international talent for many companies, while the populist wing of the MAGA movement, led by people like conservative pundits Steve Bannon and Laura Loomer, have said it should be abolished. Trump said in late December that he believes the program is great. Moody's pick is also likely to reshuffle DeSantis' own political orbit. It's widely believed that longtime DeSantis Chief of Staff James Othmeyer will be appointed to fill Moody's post, requiring DeSantis to elect a new top staffer. Othmeyer, who was the campaign manager for DeSantis' failed 2024 presidential bid, is considered one of his closest confidants. So moving and shaking in Florida. So, but don't they still have to approve Marco Rubio? Did they already approve him? I didn't get that memo. So, but he's out of the Senate, and now they brought this chick in. So, That's your political poison right there. What about your actual poison, right? All kinds of poisons in our foods. Don't you know, like a lot of our food in America is banned overseas because it's just full of just poisonous crap? Well, the FDA is maybe doing something about that. So the FDA bans carcinogenic red dye number 3 in food and drinks. It's been, this is from Brett Wilkins over there at Common Dreams. It's been used to color everything from candy to soft drinks to even watermelon, but after decades of knowing that it causes cancer, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is finally banning erythrocene, popularly known as red dye number 3, in foods and beverages, although Mambo number 9, or Mambo number 5, was it 5 or 9? That's still legal. Red dye number 3, commonly used to color maraschino cherries, fruit cocktails, toaster pastries, sodas, seasonal candies, cough syrups, and many other orally consumed products, giggity, has been known to cause cancer in animals since the 1980s. It's been banned in cosmetics since 1990. Manufacturers have until January 2027 to remove the toxic additive from products subject to the ban. So it's still going to be around for 2 years. That red dye, emphasis on dye, because the FDA failed to uphold its legal obligation to fully ban cancer-causing additives. Red 3 remained permitted in foods, supplements, and oral drugs, giggity. More than 34 years later, the Center for Science in the Public Interest said in a statement Wednesday. That changed on January 16th this year, thanks to a color additive petition filed by CSPI in 2022. CSPI called the ban a win for public health. At long last, the FDA is ending the regulatory paradox of Red 3 being illegal for use in lipstick, but perfectly legal to feed to children in the form of candy. Dr. Peter Lurie, president of the Center for Science in the Public Interest, said in a statement, the primary purpose of food dyes is to make candy, drinks, and other processed foods more attractive. When the function is purely aesthetic, why accept any cancer risk at all? Right? It's all part of that thing of fooling your mind into making it looks delicious, but it's really cancer. In addition to CSPI, numerous other groups and activists, including the Center for Food Safety, Environmental Working Group, that's the EWG, and Food and Water Watch, FWW, have had petitioned the FDA for the ban. We wouldn't be celebrating this historic decision today without the relentless leadership of public health champions like Michael Jacobson and others who took up this fight decades ago on behalf of consumers, EWG president and co-founder Ken Cook said, hailing the ban. We all owe a debt of gratitude to Michael and the other early leaders who pushed the FDA to remove toxic chemical ingredients from the nation's food supply. FWW senior food policy analyst Rebecca Wolf said that this move by the FDA is long overdue, but represents a step in the right direction for consumer safety from harmful, cancer-causing chemicals. This is exactly the action we need to see from the FDA, Wolf added. If the incoming FDA is serious about food safety and system reforms, they should build on this win by endorsing scientifically sound policies and regulatory changes that Food and Water Watch has supported for years. These include ending the GRAS loophole that companies use to pollute our food system, removing antibiotics from animal feed, and supporting a ban on harmful chemicals in food. I don't know, man. It's like, that's kind of rando to take that one out and not the other dyes that are cancer causing too. So, unless they're not cancer causing, but again, you may give it that shiny, like the cherries, right? I don't know. I don't really care what they look like. Just as long as they taste the same. That's all I care about. So one of Elon Musk's spaceships blowed up. American Starship explodes in meteor shower of debris. Boom, boom, boom. Here comes some lights. SpaceX's Starship rocket exploded during a test flight. It wouldn't have exploded if it was Jefferson's Starship. I'm just saying they were a better band. Resulting in the loss of the spacecraft, the company's representatives confirmed. Videos captured by observers show pieces of the spacecraft breaking apart and burning as they fell, creating a spectacular scene reminiscent of a meteor shower. The test flight, conducted Thursday afternoon at SpaceX's Starbase facility in Boca Chica, Texas, was intended to showcase the rocket's capabilities, including carrying 10 dummy satellites into orbit. While the Super Heavy booster successfully returned to the launch pad and was caught by the launch tower's mechanical arms, an achievement previously accomplished only once, the Starship spacecraft encountered the engine shutdowns during its ascent. So here's the thing. I think they got it. Ooh, pretty. Isn't that nice? Pew! It's like rain and death. Here it comes. Oh no, no, those trees are gonna get it. Owie! So they did the thing there. All right, so communication was lost approximately 8.5 minutes into the flight, culminating in what the company described as a rapid, unscheduled disassembly of the spacecraft. Rapid, unscheduled disassembly. Yeah, it blowed up. That's what they meant. Is this more thing here? Yeah, there's more of the blowed up. There's more of the rapid disassembling. That's crazy. All right, that's enough of that. It was great to see a booster come down, but we are obviously bummed about the ship. SpaceX spokesman Dan Hote said about the incident, it's flight test, it's an experimental vehicle. Yeah, which is great. Nobody died or anything like that. So that's why we can be jokey about it. It ain't our money. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk shared one of the videos on social media, but has yet to confirm if it was his rocket behind the display or comment on the incident. So yeah. Setback comes during a competitive period in the private space industry. On the same day, Blue Origin, founded by Jeff Bezos, those are the ones, the blue dick rockets. They the one that Captain Kirk went in, launched its New Glenn rocket from Cape Canaveral, Florida. Although the rocket's upper stage successfully reached orbit, its first stage booster failed to land on a recovery ship, resulting in its destruction. At 400 feet, SpaceX's Starship is the world's largest and most powerful rocket. The company envisions using Starship for deploying Starlink satellites and ultimately carrying crews to the moon and Mars. Boom, boom, boom. But yeah, you gotta get them to quit popping off. You gotta quit. Get them to quit rapidly disassembling. Rapidly, unexpectedly disassembling. You need to stop that shit. Well, yeah, I guess. Part of it's their money, but yeah, it's our money too. Yes, you're right, Bella. Technically government money, but we can just make more. So, checking in on L.A., these wildfire ravages and historic black community in Los Angeles. Of course, there's a huge black community in L.A. anyway, and you knew these fires were going to affect them as well. So, Bill Threadgill was picking through the ashes of his home in Altadena, where he lived for 15 years, pulling out copper pipes and setting them aside to sell. Only his chimney and 2 porch pillars remained standing, but nothing else. Wildfire had burned the whole structure to the ground. Even before flames swept through the area, his family had struggled to make ends meet. We've been stretched financially, Threadgill, a handyman and caregiver, said through his N95 face mask. You can remember there's a lot of poor people there, too. That was like before these fires came through and destroyed everything. They were barely making it themselves because of the nature of these big cities and how poor people are just ignored. On January 7th, the Eaton fire ignited in the nearby mountains, forcing thousands of residents to evacuate. Fanned by hurricane-force winds, the fire damaged or destroyed more than 5,700 structures and killed at least 16 people. It was one of a series of blazes that tore through the LA area over the last week and a half, intensified by climate change. All told, nearly 12,000 buildings have been consumed and 25 people killed. The fires could become one of the costliest natural disasters in the U.S. History, with experts estimating now $250 billion in damage. While multi-million-dollar homes were destroyed in the wealthy Pacific Palisades area, the working-class neighborhood of Altadena was also devastated. Some of the victims were elderly or disabled and could not flee. Threadgill himself lived with and cared for a 73-year-old friend whom he considers family. She was in short-term convalescent care at the time of the fire. She has no home to return to. As he walked through the debris, he searched for his calico cat, Catra. I hope that she got out because I left the back door open for her to get out, he said. Yeah, if you left the back door open, that cat took off. She's probably long gone somewhere. He looked at the spot where his front door used to be. He won't be entering here like this no more, never again. Uprooted unexpectedly. It's devastating. And I know people that live in that Altadena area too. Nestled near the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains, Altadena is a proud African-American and immigrant community. Of its 42,000 residents, 58% are people of color. The community started to take shape in the 60s. Large numbers of black families had left the U.S. South and moved westwards as part of a trend known as the Great Migration. Altadena was one of the few neighborhoods in the area where African Americans could obtain housing loans at the time. Over the years, prominent black artists would settle in the community, including Oscar-winning actor Sidney Poitier and famed science fiction writer Octavia Butler. Butler, who is buried in the nearby Mountain View Cemetery, wrote a novel called Parable of the Sower, which took place in Los Angeles against the backdrop of raging wildfires, something locals and fans of the book have drawn parallels to during the current crisis. Today, 18% of Altadena residents are black, a markedly higher percentage than in neighboring Pasadena. On January 7th, the neighborhood was under a red flag warning, signaling conditions were perfect for fires. The weather was warm, the vegetation was unseasonably dry, and the Santa Ana winds were blowing strong. That day, when the Eaton fire ignited in the mountains, Threadgill felt relaxed. I was 100% certain that the fire up in the hills was not going to come down here. And a lot of other people thought that too, because in the past it never had. Then the wind kicked up and blew the flames toward his home. As he gathered bags of possessions and loaded them into his truck, he could feel the heat of the flames. As I was walking down the street, embers were under my feet, so I really had to run at that point, and the rest is history. It caught fire, he said. And there's his house right there. Down the street from Threadgill, Eliza Gonzalez and her husband arrived home from vacation on January 7th to a cloud of smoke over the city. They began unpacking, but when the wind picked up, they repacked their bags and evacuated. When they returned the next day, they saw the house next door had burned down. Embers still smoldered across the neighborhood. Poor Dirt Farmer, what's up? PDF, good to see you, my friend. But Gonzalez noticed several community members were in her backyard, spraying her house with water. She credits them with saving her home. It was amazing. I couldn't believe that people around the neighborhood were just doing whatever they could to save the structures that were left. Threadgill was one of the people who hosed down houses on their street after losing his own home. I was doing everything that I could to help, he said. While it's not yet clear what ignited the Eaton fire, some residents who lost their homes are suing Southern California Edison, alleging that the utility company's electrical equipment sparked the fire, which is prone to happen. They also claim it was negligent to run electricity through the utility's power lines during a red flag warning. Go back up. Come on. What is wrong with you? It really upsets me to know that it could have been negligence on their part, Gonzalez said. That gets me really upset, thinking that it could have been prevented. And now you won't go down. There you go. Despite the devastation, Gonzalez emphasized her gratitude for her neighbors. The community has been amazing. The community saved our house, Gonzalez said. And it's the same thing in hurricane relief, too. You have the same, the community comes together because they know the feds aren't going to help. And if they do, it's just going to be some piddly shit. So they've had to grow to learn to help each other. As she spoke, two women wearing N95 masks pulled up in a car and offered her food. They explained that they live in the neighborhood and want to help. It's been like this all week, Gonzalez explained as she accepted soup, sandwiches, and pasta. Mutual aid efforts have popped up across Altadena. At the nearby Pasadena Community Jobs Center, day laborers put out a call for supplies the Wednesday after the fire started. Hundreds of volunteers showed up to distribute donations to wildfire victims and clean up debris. On Sunday, Dungdao Riccardi, a chef at a popular Thai restaurant in Altadena, went to the job center to stock up on food to take home. Her restaurant is in an evacuation zone and has remained closed to the public. Riccardi said she didn't know how long the restaurant would stay shuttered. I feel so sad for everybody. Her husband had 2 recent operations, open heart surgery followed by eye surgery, and cannot work at the moment. Until the fires, she was their sole breadwinner. Now her paycheck has vanished. So these are some of the tales in Altadena, as far as like people coming together in the community there. Our buddy Kevin from Black Bear News, like I said, he's from around that area. He lost his home and was fortunate enough to have a place to go, though, and he's still broadcasting his show, too. So thank goodness for that. Things burn up. You can replace those maybe, but, people, that's one thing you can't replace. So, we had talked about insurance, people getting dropped, that sort of thing before these fires even started. So, and insurance is going to definitely be in the vernacular as these fires are getting put out. So, is the insurance the next battlefront for California residents? As wildfires continue to ravage California's LA County, attention is now turning to how tens of thousands of people directly affected by the devastation might recoup what they've lost and a potential insurance storm that awaits them. Thousands of properties have been damaged or destroyed, and owners are uncertain whether insurance will cover for them. The ongoing fires could become the most expensive in terms of insured loss in California history, with analysts estimating that losses could approach $20 billion. That's just insurance losses alone. So at least 27 people have been killed so far now in the wildfires, the first of which broke out in Pacific Palisades. That one has engulfed 23,713 acres of land. According to CAL FIRE, more than 12,300 homes have been and structures have been destroyed. 2 fires still active, the Palisades and Eaton. I believe the other one that was, can't remember the other one. I guess those 2 were contained. So now it's just down to Eaton and Palisades. An analyst projected, like we said, based on preliminary estimates, that the LA wildfires could be the costliest wildfire event in California. In terms of just insured losses, $20 billion, but overall damages, they're looking at between $250 and now $275 billion. $275 billion. Kevin's not going live stream. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's done for. He said he's not going to be on today, so he'll be back Monday. Yeah. So private. Yeah. So AccuWeather estimates total damage and economic loss up to $275 billion. That could rise too, which would make the LA fires the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history, surpassing Hurricane Katrina. So far, the costliest wildfire in terms of insured losses was the 2018 Camp Fire, and that was $12.76 billion for that. So historically, some of the costliest natural disasters in terms of insured losses have been hurricanes and earthquakes. The insured losses from Hurricane Katrina totaled $105 billion. So what did the insurance companies do in the lead up to the wildfires? Before the fires broke out, insurance companies such as State Farm and Allstate started canceling home insurance policies in areas prone to fires. Luigi. Excuse me. As of 2022, the Illinois-based State Farm was California's largest insurer. In July 2024, it dropped about 1,600 policies for homeowners in Pacific Palisades, which meant 69.4% of its insurance policies in the county were not renewed. Between 2020 and 2022, insurers did not renew 2.8 million homeowner policies in California. More than 500,000 of those were in LA, according to the California Department of Insurance. There's been a mass exodus of big players from the market in these parts of California. Ben Keyes, a real estate and finance professor at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, told a conference on Friday. We've seen enormous non-renewals recently. David Flandro, the head of industry analysis and strategic advisory at Howden Ray, a global reinsurance broker, says the size of the wildfire and scope of the damage could be cause for concern. Maybe there isn't the coverage in place to cover everyone, unfortunately. So why did State Farm cancel insurance? In May 2023, State Farm released a statement that it would stop accepting new applications, including business and personal lines, property, and casualty insurance. The statement added that this was due to historic increases in construction costs outpacing inflation, rapidly growing catastrophe exposure, and a challenging reinsurance market. Brooklyn-based reporter Jake Biddle told the PBS network that State Farm and other insurers dropped or limited policies in California because the state of California had limited the amount that insurance companies could charge to their customers. In 1988, California passed a ballot measure in its general election called Proposition 103, or the Insurance Rate Reduction and Reform Act. The proposition rolled back insurance rates and established a prior approval system where an insurer has to get the California Insurance Commissioner's approval before implementing property and casualty insurance rates. However, these approvals take time. California's system has been slow and is getting slower. It took 157 days on average between submission and resolution of rate filings for homeowners insurance between 2013 and 2019. This increased to 293 days on average between 2020 and 2022. California's law also decrees that insurers must justify their rates for catastrophe-related losses based on average losses from that catastrophe over the past 20 years. For the California wildfires, future projections based on past losses would be inaccurate because the fires are unpredictable, getting more destructive than they were in the past, insurers have argued. Between 2004 and 2013, wildfires in California destroyed about 653 structures on average annually. Between 2014 and 2023, however, wildfires in California destroyed about 5,669 structures on average each year. This average was pulled up by destructive fires in 2017, 18, and in 2020. In 2017, the Thomas Fire razed over 1,000 structures in California's Ventura and Santa Barbara. In July 2018, the Mendocino Complex Fire destroyed 280 structures in Mendocino, Lake, Colusa, and Glenn counties. And in November 2018, the Camp Fire destroyed almost 19,000 buildings in Northern California's Butte County. I know that doesn't say but. Hemp Car, what's up? Good to see you. Yes. Prop 103 contributed to the challenges faced in the California insurance market. Ray Lehman, senior fellow at independent research organization International Center for Law and Economics, says, Lehman said the most notable of these challenges is that the proposition has historically not permitted insurers to consider the cost of reinsurance or the output of forward-looking catastrophe models when filing rates. This effectively means that the state does not permit insurers to consider the impact of climate change or that future losses may be more significant than past losses. Amid this ravage, insurance companies lost decades of underwriting profits and became convinced that they couldn't make money or enough money doing business in California, Biddle told PBS. He explained that this also contributed to the companies pulling out of California. Some homeowners have opted for the insurance program set up by the state called the California Fair Plan, that's fair access to insurance requirements, which was established in 1968 to cover people who could not obtain standard home insurance for various reasons. The FAIR plan is funded by private companies, not taxpayer money, and was originally conceived to hand out a limited number of policies to people who did not have standard insurance. As of 2024, 452,000 people in California have the FAIR plan. However, the plan only offers basic coverage up to $3 million, which might not be enough for complete rebuilding of some houses. And you have to remember the property values around there, $3 million, kind of cheap. As of July 2023, there are nearly 15 million housing units in California, and as of July of last year, the population in California is nearly 40 million, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. The FAIR plan is also more expensive than standard insurance. A December 2024 note by New York-based financial services company Bankrate says in California, the average annual cost of a FAIR plan policy was about $3,200. In comparison, the average house insurance costs $1,480 in California for a $300,000 dwelling policy, according to Bankrate. The result? Hundreds of thousands of homeowners do not have property insurance in California. Bad thing. A report published on January 9th by online marketplace Lending Tree estimated that 806,651 homes in California are uninsured of the 7.6 million homes in the state. In Los Angeles, 154,108 homes are uninsured out of the 1.5 million homes there, meaning 1 in 10 homes are uninsured in the county, according to Lending Tree. Still, as a result of private insurers pulling out of California, the state's insurer of last resort FAIR plan has grown exponentially, Lehman said. Indeed, as private insurers withdrew, the exposure of the FAIR plan grew dramatically, up 61.3% between September 2023 to $458 billion in September 2024. FAIR has gotten $5.9 billion of exposure to the Pacific Palisades. Wildfires are among environmental disasters that intensify as a changing climate looms over the planet. A report by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency says climate change has contributed to an increase in the frequency, season length, and burned areas of wildfires. While wildfires in California were previously limited to a span of a specific few months, the state governor Gavin Newsom recently spoke of how there is no longer a fire season in California. It's year-round in the state of California, he said. Research suggests that insurance world is not adequately ready to pay the price of the climate crisis. Yeah, I would imagine so. Last year, a report from campaign group Insure Our Future found that climate change is a reason for a third of weather-related insurance losses worldwide over the past 20 years. The California Department of Insurance has taken some steps in the right direction by promulgating new rules to permit consideration of catastrophe models and the cost of reinsurance for those insurers who agree to write a significant amount of business in wildfire-exposed areas. He added that to ensure that California remains insurable into the future, state leaders need to consider significantly investing in mitigating wildfires. This could mean changes to the building codes, permitting utilities to invest in underground transmission lines, or rethinking land use, planning, and zoning in the wildland urban interface. And it goes on there, but basically, yeah, it's they're going to be in for one hell of a ride with the insurance companies over this. I mean, it's the same thing that happened in Hawaii with the fires there. They're going through the same shit. The fires are now down to 2 major ones. Hopefully they'll have those contained, but with those winds, it's going to be hard as hell to contain them. But, poor planning in the first place, not having that reservoir that was close by open and up and running really made the difference. Yeah, exactly, right? But that's the thing. People are reactive. They're not proactive anymore. They just react. And that's why our situation, not only here, but around the world, is in a shitty spot. So, So over at the Washington Post, one of their cartoonists have been arrested over CP. That's right. So Darren Bell, a Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist known for his work with the Washington Post, has been arrested on child pornography charges, according to an entry on the Sacramento County Jail's website. In the listing detailing Bell's inmate information, he's reported to have been booked on Wednesday and is said to be charged with felony possession, control of obscene matter depicting a person under 18. The investigation into Bell was conducted by Sacramento Valley Internet Crimes Against Children Detectives, ICAC, and apparently began after a tip about 18 files containing child sexual abuse material, CSAM, that were uploaded to an online service, according to the outlet BNO, citing a statement by the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office. Investigators are said to have ultimately found a total of 134 videos linked to the same account, which was allegedly owned and controlled by Bell. A search warrant was reportedly executed at Bell's residence, resulting in his arrest and booking into the Sacramento County main jail. The inmate information listed on the jail's online database shows that Bell's bail has been set at $1 million. The outlet quotes Sergeant Amar Gandhi of the Sheriff's Office as saying that Bell's arrest is the first case in Sacramento County for possession of AI-generated child pornography under a new law that came into force on January 1st. There has so far been no official confirmation from Bell's representatives of his status. Major news outlets, including the Washington Post, have not yet reported on the matter. Well, I could see why. Darren Bell is known for his comic strips Canderville and Rudy Park, both featured in the Post and other newspapers nationwide. In 2019, he became the first African American to win the Pulitzer Prize for editorial cartooning. So, yeah. CP. Yikes. Meanwhile, these whistleblowers that are committing unalivedness on themselves. Apparently, one mother for an open AI whistleblower is disputing her child's suicide. The mother of late OpenAI whistleblower Suchir Balaji has questioned the official ruling on her son's death and called for a full investigation. In an interview with American journalist Tucker Carlson released yesterday, Purnima Ramarao argued that crucial evidence contradicts the suicide determination and said her son was troubled by OpenAI's alleged unethical practices before his death. Ramarao also noted that her son had been in possession of documents that could have damaged the company. He had the documents against OpenAI, she stated, adding that the files contain critical information and that efforts are now being made to retrieve them. Balaji, a 26-year-old AI researcher, was found dead in his San Francisco apartment on November 26th last year. Authorities ruled his death a suicide, but his family has disputed the conclusion, citing inconsistencies in the official investigation. In response to the public scrutiny, the San Francisco Police Department later updated the status of Balaji's case from closed suicide to open and active investigation. Balaji had resigned from OpenAI in August last year, voicing concerns over the company's alleged misuse of copyrighted material for AI training. In an interview with the New York Times weeks before his death, Balaji stated that OpenAI's data practices could be in violation of copyright laws. During her interview with Carlson, Ramarao claimed that forensic evidence contradicted the official account. Specifically, she pointed to the autopsy, which determined that the bullet angle was 30 to 45 degrees, which she argued was inconsistent with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. She further stated that the private autopsy had also revealed additional head injuries, suggesting signs of a struggle. There is a head injury on the left side of the head, she said. Ramarao described her son's last days, recalling that he had returned from a trip with friends in high spirits and had made career plans. He had a nonprofit in mind. He didn't want to take a salary for his work. He said, "Mom, I have enough resources. I want to serve humanity," she recalled. That was his first mistake. She questioned how someone so focused on the future could take his own life. Probably because he didn't. She also accused OpenAI of failing to acknowledge Balaji's contributions to the company. He was vital in the ChatGPT team, but the irony is he was never acknowledged by OpenAI, she said. According to Ramarao, OpenAI only contacted the family regarding Balaji's stock options, not to offer condolences or support. Holy shit. Fucking robots. The family has continued to call for an independent investigation into Balaji's death. "We want justice. We want the death sentence to the one who killed my son, as well as in prison for people who are behind it," she told Carlson. Yeah. A lot of these suicides. Yeah, I know exactly, Miguel. That's the face. Yeah. So that's why. And then of course, Obama said whistleblowers. Well, these whistleblowers, they gonna go to jail. They shouldn't be whistling. You know, they should be singing, using their whole voice, not the whistle part. That whistling's a little annoying. Only causes dogs to come up here. Big Mike, what do you think? Meanwhile, finally in our newsy news block, Cuba releases jail dissident and rights activist Jose Daniel Ferrer. Cuban dissident and human rights activist Jose Daniel Ferrer told Reuters on Thursday he had been released from jail and was at home, part of a broader plan negotiated with the Vatican to gradually free upwards of 500 prisoners. The Cuban government began liberating a small number of prisoners on Wednesday, following talks with the Catholic Church that prompted U.S. President Joe Biden's administration to announce it would significantly loosen sanctions on the crisis-racked nation. Biden's announcement on Cuba came just days before Trump's pick to head the State Department. Marco Rubio was critical of the decision to relax sanctions on Cuba. What else is news? That fucking piece of shit. Many, if not all, of the prisoners released this week were arrested in association with unprecedented anti-government protests that took place in July 2021, the largest protests since Fidel Castro's 1959 revolution. The U.S., Europe, and human rights groups had criticized Cuba's response to the protests as repressive and heavy-handed. Ferrer is the highest-profile prisoner and dissident to be released thus far. "I'm at home in fair health, but with the courage to continue fighting for the freedom of Cuba," Ferrer told Reuters in a brief phone conversation. Ferrer, leader of the Patriotic Union of Cuba, the UNPACU, once the communist-run country's largest and most active opposition group, was arrested in October 2019 on charges of abducting and assaulting a man. He was sentenced to 4 years in jail, but served the majority under house arrest. Go back up there. Yeah. Wait a minute, where'd it go? That's okay. Okay, under house arrest. At the time, Cuba called Ferrer a U.S. finance dissident, but said he was not arrested for his political views. Critics said Cuba's government had concocted the accusations in order to arrest and silence Ferrer. The longtime dissident was picked up again by police on July 11, 2021, as he tried to join a protest in Santiago de Cuba, the Caribbean island nation's second-largest city, violating the terms of his house arrest. He was charged with public disorder and returned to prison. Ferrer's anti-government activism dates back decades. He was one of 75 dissidents arrested in 2003 during a nationwide crackdown known as the Black Spring. He was released on parole in 2011. Cuba has said it will continue to gradually release prisoners from its jails in the coming days and weeks. So that's, I guess that's good news for them. As Cuba, but I didn't want to get too excited about this Cuba stuff because, once Trump gets back in, he's just going to fuck it up again. So, at least for a week, they get some relief. So, but come on. Relaxed is more like, yeah, you get to you get to sit down for a second, but then you got to get up and run the marathon again. So, you know, as I said, this propaganda watch block is going to be huge, and it is because we've got journalists getting dragged out of press conferences where right here in the good old U.S. of A. Yeah!
This is SETI Alpha 5!
Sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is SETI Alpha 5. Why aren't you in The Hague? Journalist Sam Husseini gets dragged out of Blinken's last press conference. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held his final press conference yesterday and was confronted about his support for Israel's genocidal war in Gaza by two veteran reporters, including independent journalist Sam Husseini, who was dragged out of the room while telling Blinken he belonged in The Hague. Max Blumenthal, founder of the Gray Zone, disrupted Blinken's opening statement, saying 300 reporters in Gaza were on the receiving end of your bombs. Why did you keep the bombs flowing when we had a deal in May? Why did you sacrifice the rules-based order on the mantle of your commitment to Zionism? Why did you allow my friends to be massacred? Because they're evil Zionists. Next question. I mean, seriously, there's really no other answer. Blumenthal continued to pepper Blinken with questions as he was escorted out of the room. Are you compromised by Israel? Why did you allow the Holocaust of our time to happen? How does it feel to have your legacy be genocide?
300 reporters in Gaza were on the receiving end of your bombs. Why did you keep the bombs flowing when we had a deal in May? We all knew we had a deal. Everyone in this room knows we had a deal, Tony, and you kept the bombs flowing. Why did you sacrifice the rules-based order on the mantle of your commitment to Zionism? Why did you allow my friends to be massacred? Why did you allow my friends' homes in Gaza to be destroyed when we had a deal in May? You helped destroy our religion, Judaism, by associating it with fascism. You waved the white flag before Netanyahu.
We'll have the time to take questions at the end.
You waved the white flag before Israeli fascism.
We'll have the time to take questions
Your
at the end.
Your father-in-law was an Israel lobbyist. Your grandfather was an Israel lobbyist. Are you compromised by Israel? Why did you allow the Holocaust of our time to happen? How does it feel to have your legacy be genocide? How does it feel to have your legacy be genocide? You too, Matt. You smirked through the whole thing every day. You smirked through a genocide.
Thank you.
Fucking robots, man. Those fucking robots, dude. Yeah, so that was Max. Referring to State Department spokesman Matt Miller, Blumenthal said, you too, Matt, you smirked through the whole thing, you piece of shit, you fuckface, you cocksucker, you motherfucker. I'm adding all that part. Every day you smirked through a genocide. A few minutes after Blumenthal left, Husseini began asking Blinken questions. I'm a journalist, not a potted plant, Husseini told a State Department employee who told him to be quiet. Blinken said he would answer questions after his statement, but Husseini said that Miller explicitly told him that he wouldn't have the chance to ask questions. Husseini, a contributor to antiwar.com, frequently attends State Department press briefings, but is rarely called on. But today is a different matter.
The names of those who have been arbitrarily detained and unfairly held hostage, unjustly held hostage, and bringing them home, returning them to their families, returning them to their loved ones. Finally,
get your hands off me. 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 Answer a damn question. Do you know about the Hannibal Directive? Do you know about Israel's nuclear weapons? Everybody from the ICJ. I was sitting here quietly, and now I'm being manhandled by 2 or 3 people. You pontificate about a free press. You pontificate about a free press. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. I'm asking questions after being told by Matt Miller that he will not answer my questions until I ask him questions.
Respect the process.
Wasn't the point of the May 31st statement to block the ICJ orders? You blocked the ICJ orders.
Please, sir, respect the process.
Oh, respect the process. Respect the process while everybody from Amnesty International. From Amnesty International to the ICJ saying that Israel's doing genocide and extermination. You're telling me to respect the process. Criminal! Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in the Hague?
Finally, we've worked to modernize our diplomacy so that we're more.
As if nothing happened. As if nothing happened. And that's how they do it. They train their robots to be that way. I'm justified in what I'm doing, Husseini said. After a moment of calm, armed security personnel approached Husseini and began ripping him out of his seat. As he was, and this was just basically going over what just happened. As he was being dragged out, Husseini said to Blinken, answer a damn question. Do you know about the Hannibal Directive? Do you know about Israel's nuclear weapons? You pontificate about a free press. Blinken told Husseini to respect the process. That's diplomatic ease for go fuck yourself. To which Husseini replied, respect the process, while everybody from Amnesty International to the ICJ says Israel's doing genocide and extermination. You're telling me to respect the process? Criminal, why aren't you in the Hague? And I would have threw in a go fuck yourself a couple ones, and you know, your mom's a whore. After the incident, Husseini said he made it home. I was seriously manhandled, but I'm back home. Thanks for all the support, folks. Husseini wrote on the tweeters. He listed the questions that he wanted to ask Blinken, which included, what was the point of the May 31st announcement to block implementation of the May 24th ICJ order? Why do you refuse to recognize the Geneva Conventions as applying to Gaza? Everyone from Amnesty International to the ICC accuses Israel of extermination and genocide. Why are you not in The Hague? Why was your stepfather, Pisar, connected to both Robert Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein? Oh, here we go. Miller here pretends not to know what the Hannibal Directive about the Hannibal Directive. Do you know about the Hannibal Directive? Of course he knows about the Hannibal Directive. Why do you not even acknowledge Israel's nuclear weapons? Husseini has written extensively about some of the issues listed above on his Substack. Check it out. Check out his Substack. Yeah. So getting ripped out of press conferences. That's Biden's legacy right there. March for Medicare for All. What's up? What kind of loser takes a job as a thug for trash like Blinken? Exactly. Those who are either part of the program, they what is it? You're either complicit or you're stupid. As it was the thing, you can't be you can't be both or neither, I guess. So Sleepy Joe decided to have his last press conference thingy, or his last address to the thing. And normally I don't really cover what this guy says, but when a president leaves, you know, they tend to spew just some of the most bombastic shit. So Biden vows peaceful transition, warns of oligarchy in America. Now he's warning us. He's warning us now about oligarchy in America. Now, what's today? Friday? 3 days before he's gone. Look at him. I took a shit this big this morning. I swear to God. Hunter smoked it. He thought it was crack. It came from a crack, but don't make it crack. U.S. President Joe Biden gave his last address to the nation a few days before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. In his farewell address, Biden reminisced about a decades-long political career, while also issuing a warning to the nation as he prepares to hand over authority to the president-elect. Speaking from behind the Resolute desk, Biden expressed pride in his administration's accomplishments. Put on your hip boots for these folks. This is going to be a deep one. As the country recovered from the coronavirus outbreak and invested in infrastructure, climate change, and other initiatives. Biden expressed that in the last 4 years, the U.S. democracy held strong, and every day I've kept my commitment to be president for all Americans for one of the toughest periods in our nation's history. He made it actually tougher, adding that I've had a great partner, Vice President Kamala Harris, blah, blah. Not going to miss her. Biden went on to express his deep worry about the concentration of power in the hands of a few oligarchs. Holy shit, dude. Come on, really? Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead, he stated. Yet you enabled them! You enabled them! Joe, you sleepy motherfucker! The address comes only hours after a ceasefire was announced in Gaza and a foreign policy aim he's had for more than a year that became a reality days before leaving office, which he could have had months ago if he just would have threatened to pull the money. That's all he had to do. No money for you, BB. You're like, okay. He stated he was directly involved in the discussions and regarded them as some of the toughest of his career, but he was deeply satisfied with the outcome. He wasn't involved in none of those talks. He was sleeping. He's Sleepy Joe. And there he is. You can listen to him on the tweet. We're not going through that bullshit. So we'll be done with Mr. Magoo here in a few days, and then we'll get the we'll get Psychopath in here, and then all will be good. All right, Jack, have a good weekend, dear. Take care. Come see us in the Secret Show tomorrow night. I'm going to try to do it again. I was feeling bad last week. My head didn't feel good, but my head feels real good now. So another day, another Israeli lie, another journalist killed. Israel kills another journalist in Gaza. Death toll rises to 205 journalists now. Palestine Media Forum has condemned Israel's killing of Gaza journalist Ahmed al-Shaya, who worked as a correspondent, editor, and producer with several media outlets. His death brings to 205 the number of journalists killed by Israel in Gaza since October 2023. Al-Shaya was killed after Israel targeted a food distribution in Al-Mawasi, west of the Khan Yunis governorate in the southern Gaza Strip. Come on, let's go. On Tuesday, journalist Alam Al-Nafed was killed in an Israeli attack while she was walking to the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City. The Palestine Media Forum condemned the international silence and inability to protect Palestinian journalists and allow them to carry out their professional duty in accordance with international laws and humanitarian charters, the report said. Gaza's government media office also condemned in the strongest terms the targeting, killing, and assassination of Palestinian journalists by the Israeli occupation, the report added. It called on the International Federation of Journalists, the IFJ, the Federation of Arab Journalists, and all journalistic bodies to condemn these systematic crimes against Palestinian journalists and media professionals in the Gaza Strip. The IFJ and the Palestinian Journalists Syndicate, the PJS, has condemned the killings and continued attacks on journalists and called for an immediate investigation into their deaths. The ongoing Israeli assault on the Gaza Strip, which began in October 2023, has led to a humanitarian crisis of unprecedented scale. As the death toll among besieged and starved Palestinian civilians continues to rise daily, Israel is currently facing charges of genocide against Palestinians before the International Court of Justice. And that's like we say, and not just us, others have said this too, that they kill these journalists because they're reporting the truth. They're reporting what Israel's being accused of war crimes for around the world. All right, and even Israel themselves, they're taking their selfies of them with the hubris, and now it's starting to backfire on them, and now the world is looking at them as the monsters that they really are. Meanwhile, in Egypt, the wife of detained cartoonist Ashraf Omar has been arrested after a podcast appearance. Because, yes, let's go on podcasts and break the law, apparently, for going on a podcast. Nada Mughith, the wife of detained Egyptian cartoonist Ashraf Omar, was arrested by the country's security forces on Monday, according to their lawyer Khaled Ali. Mughith's abduction comes a month following a podcast interview in which she revealed details of her husband's arrest. Her interviewer was also arrested, according to Zat Masur, the platform where the podcast was aired. According to Ali, men claiming to be from Egypt's state security prosecution showed up in front of Mughith's home in the morning and took her with them. This is all the information we have about her so far, Ali said on Facebook. We are currently investigating the entity the two men worked for, the place they took her to, and the reasons for it. It was later revealed that Mughith was taken to the Supreme State Security Prosecution in Cairo's 5th District neighborhood, and that her defense team were waiting to be allowed entry and attend the investigation with her. Omar, arrested in July, had his detention repeatedly extended, with the latest being an extension of 45 days on December 10th. Campaigners and media outlets believe his detention to be related to his latest caricatures. In one of them, he criticized Egypt's plan to build a monorail in Cairo as citizens struggled with power cuts, while in another, he directly called out the government's alleged mishandling of Egypt's economic woes. Cartooning for Peace, an international organization defending cartoonists around the world, said it's alarmed by the extension of his pretrial detention and the absence of any guarantee of his right to a fair trial. People in jail, podcasts, and caricatures. That's where we're at, folks. That is where the fuck we're at there. How many's left here? We got a few left. One moment. Okay, cool. All right, so apparently the Rome's chief rabbi and the Pope are getting into it over Israel remarks. That's the Pope right there saying, what did I say? Go on. Rome's chief Jewish rabbi on Thursday sharply criticized Pope Francis over the pontiff's recent ramping up of criticism against Israel's military campaign in Gaza in an unusually forceful speech during an annual Catholic-Jewish dialogue event, according to Reuters. Francis has unfairly focused his attention on Israel compared to other ongoing world conflicts, including those in Sudan, Yemen, Syria, and Ethiopia, said Rabbi Riccardo de Segni, a spiritual leader of Rome's Jewish community since 2001. Selective indignation weakens the Pope's strength, said de Segni. A pope cannot divide the world into children and stepchildren and must denounce the sufferings of all, he said. This is exactly what the Pope does not do. Francis, leader of the 1.4 billion member Roman Catholic Church, has recently been more outspoken about Israel's military campaign against Palestinian group Hamas. Last week, he called the humanitarian situation in Gaza very serious and shameful. A complex ceasefire accord between Israel and Hamas emerged on Wednesday. It's scheduled to start on Sunday. Relations between the Catholic Church and Judaism have improved in recent decades after centuries of animosity. The event on Thursday, held at a Catholic university, was organized to mark the 36th annual World Day of Catholic-Jewish Dialogue. One of the organizers, Reverend Marco Navi, a Catholic priest, expressed surprise at de Segni's comments. He said he felt discomfort because of the rabbi's words. You can't ask us not to suffer both with you and with others, said the priest. So the Pope said, maybe take a chill pill. Because, the shit's going on in Gaza. And, but what about us? Yeah. We have a few stories here on the UK. The first one here, UK's prevent strategy used to collect data on children, says new report, because, yes, that's not creepy or anything. A new report has accused the UK government of using its controversial prevent counterterrorism strategy to collect and share large amounts of personal data with children and young people particularly affected. The report, published by Rights and Security International, RSI, reveals how data collected through prevent referrals for safeguarding against extremism is funneled into vast databases accessible by various UK police forces and intelligence agencies and even potentially foreign governments. This data can remain in government systems for decades, leading to individuals referred by the program complaining of losing out on university places, being unsuccessful in their application for British citizenship, or losing their jobs. RSI added that the police could also collect information on potential referrals from informal conversations with prevent practitioners on individual cases that never result in a referral, significantly broadening the range of people whose data is stored in the police databases. When a person is referred to Prevent, the police have permission to use a full range of investigative powers against a person, including gaining access to their mobile phone location records, phone data records, and online footprint. Jacob Smith, who wrote the report titled Caught in the Web, Prevent Databases and the Policing of Children, described the Prevent strategy as misguided and said the report highlighted why it should be scrapped. This investigation confirms what communities and parents in Britain have long feared. Prevent is not a safeguarding program, but rather is a way for the police to create secret dossiers of information about people, particularly children, Smith told Middle East Eye. The widespread data sharing and hoarding we have uncovered violates the Human Rights Act, and the government is obligated to end this law breaking. The government must also stop saying that Prevent and Channel are consent-based. They are not. These programs have been misguided and damaging from the start, and the government should scrap them altogether. The UK needs and deserves violence protection programs that are based on facts, not gut feelings, and designed to protect everyone. Since 2015, the UK government has referred approximately 58,127 individuals to the Prevent program, touting it as a safeguarding tool targeting individuals vulnerable to radicalization. But the report highlights how children as young as 8 have been referred to Prevent for wearing clothes bearing Palestinian symbols or expressing misunderstood sentiments in school. And that's where it is. That's the crux. That's the nut of it all right there, right? The Prevent Case Management Tracker, the program's central database, stores extensive personal data, including racial identity, immigration status, and social media activity. The information is then replicated across policing and intelligence systems, often without the individual's or their family's knowledge or consent. Despite government claims that Prevent is voluntary, the report found that officials rarely seek consent when referring individuals. Authorities can bypass the formal channel intervention process designed to offer support by creating police-led partnerships which operate in secrecy and extend surveillance powers. The report underscores long-standing accusations that Prevent disproportionately affects Muslims and ethnic minorities. Nearly 60% of Prevent referrals involve children, with many from Black, Asian, and Middle Eastern backgrounds. Critics argue that the program perpetrates racial profiling under the guise of counterterrorism. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Significantly, the report found that data on race is inconsistently collected, often based on subjective perceptions rather than self-identification. This lack of robust data has allowed authorities to evade accountability for potential discriminatory impacts, a concern long raised by community groups. Prevent's evolution into a surveillance apparatus has raised alarm among human rights advocates. The report describes how police exploit Prevent data for covert operations using invasive techniques like accessing phone records and online activity. Such practices, it argues, contravene privacy rights under the European Convention on Human Rights. A Home Office spokesperson criticized the conclusions of the report and said parents and carers were able to request the deletion of any data collected by officers. So that's the thing. It's like, oh, well, you can get them, you can request to have it deleted. No, they don't want it recorded in the first place. That's the whole point. We strongly reject the conclusions of this report. Data on individuals at risk of being drawn into terrorism is held by the police only temporarily, and parents or carers can request its deletion earlier if appropriate, the spokesperson cackled. All data is kept strictly confidential. Except where a serious security risk arises, the Home Office does not maintain these individuals on watch lists. Crazy shit. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer says Israelis were massacred, but Palestinians unalived. Ah, the magic of words. Shit bastard Keir Starmer has been criticized after publishing a statement on Wednesday night which welcomed the ceasefire in Gaza but recalled the massacre of Jewish people while saying the Palestinians lost their lives. The contrasting language used to describe Israelis and Palestinians killed in the conflict has been a constant source of scrutiny, with activists arguing that the deaths of Palestinians are downplayed by media outlets and government. That's because they are. Points of contention have been not mentioning the perpetrators of Palestinian deaths, which is invariably Israel, and also using the passive voice when talking about those kills. Middle East Eye has contacted Downing Street to ask how the Prime Minister believed the Palestinians he referred to had died at the time of publication. Downing Street had not responded. So in his statement, the British Prime Minister paid tribute to the British people who were murdered by Hamas, but did not mention the British people killed by Israel, including 3 aid workers in Gaza in April. The Israeli military called their deaths a grave mistake at the time. Speaking about Hamas and its Israeli victims, Starmer used strong and emotive rhetoric. He said the war on Gaza had been triggered by the brutal terrorists of Hamas who committed the deadliest massacre of Jewish people since the Holocaust. The Prime Minister also described how Israeli captives were brutally ripped from their homes and held in unimaginable conditions. There was a marked shift in tone when he moved on to discuss Palestinian victims of Israel. Starmer said that innocent Palestinians had their homes turned into a war zone overnight, without mentioning who was responsible for their suffering. He further referred to the many who have lost their lives, not mentioning that they were killed by Israel. Many journalists, commentators, and anonymous social media users responded to Starmer's statement on social media tweeters by criticizing him strongly for the difference in how he referred to Israelis and Palestinians. A large number of the comments contain expletives, as well it should. And so does this show, by the way. We're not rated G at all. Middle East Eye asked the Foreign Office whether it considered any part responsible for the death of Palestinians. The Foreign Office pointed MEE to Foreign Secretary David Lammy's remarks in Parliament on Thursday, where he said, Gazans have truly been trapped in hell on earth. Over 46,000 killed, so many children's lives extinguished. Killed by who, Lammy? Who killed them? Schools, hospitals, and homes destroyed, hunger and disease. Who destroyed the homes? Almost 2 million forced to flee their homes. By who? With northern Gaza cut off from the rest of the Strip, a generation scarred by the savagery of war. With who? Labour MP Zara Sultana said of Starmer's statement on tweeters, no mention of UK arms sales that have enabled the genocide in Gaza. Meanwhile, Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch called for Hamas to release all hostages, but did not mention Palestinian victims of Israel. The Parliamentary Independent Alliance, by contrast, labeled Israel's war on Gaza a genocide and urged the British government to cooperate fully with the ICC in pursuit of justice against all those who have committed war crimes. This includes complying with orders for arrest warrants, handing over all intelligence, and facing accountability for its own complicity in genocide, it said. On Thursday morning, a group of 18 NGOs released a joint statement urging the British government to take immediate action to ensure accountability and justice for Palestinians. The NGOs include Oxfam, Amnesty International UK, Medical Aid for Palestinians, Action Aid UK, and Islamic Relief UK. The statement said all arms transfers to Israel, including components for F-35 fighter jets sent indirectly, must be suspended. The government must respect the work and independence of the ICC, including through committing to enforce arrest warrants issued, it added. The UK must not be an ally to Israel's atrocities and must act decisively to end its complicity and demonstrate genuine leadership in the pursuit of peace and justice for Palestinians. This comes after the Jewish Chronicle reported on Wednesday afternoon, citing sources close to the cabinet, that the Labour government had planned to sanction far-right Israeli ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich in October, but then privately dropped the plan after Trump's election in November. On October 16th, Starmer told Parliament he was looking at sanctioning both ministers for making abhorrent remarks. Whatever. Smotrich had previously said that starving 2 million people in Gaza might be justified, while Ben-Gvir called settlers who killed a 19-year-old in the West Bank heroes. Starmer himself was an initial supporter of the Israeli blockade of food, water, energy supplies, and other essentials into Gaza. The Prime Minister's comment came after David Cameron, the then Foreign Secretary under the previous Conservative government, claimed that he had planned to impose sanctions on the ministers. And finally, the Human Rights Watch UK failure to revoke anti-protest laws seriously undermines democratic rights. UK getting the triple basting today. So all my UK friends, this one's for you. UK government is seriously undermining democratic rights by failing to revoke draconian anti-protest laws introduced by the previous administration, according to Human Rights Watch. In its latest world report reviewing human rights practice in more than 100 countries, HRW said that the Labour government is failing to repeal anti-protest measures and continuing to appeal against a court ruling that found them unlawful. Last May, civil rights group Liberty won a legal challenge against the Home Office over public order laws that handed the police sweeping powers to crack down on protests. The measures lowered the threshold for police to restrict peaceful protests by redefining what is considered, quote, serious disruption, unquote, to community life from significant and prolonged to more than minor. Two judges found that then Home Secretary Suella Braverman passed the measures despite not having the backing of Parliament to do so. Hey, just like in the United States. Under the new Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, the Home Office announced in December that it was appealing against the court's decision. Furthermore, the new government has failed to repeal the Public Order Act 2023 and the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act 2022, laws that vastly expanded police powers and have seen hundreds of peaceful protesters, predominantly pro-Palestine and climate activists, arrested. This current UK government has failed to live up to the commitments they made both prior to and now after the election, which are to ensure that they uphold human rights, in particular with respect to the cornerstone of democracy, the right to protest, and the right to freedom of expression, HRW UK Director Yasmin Ahmed told Middle East Eye. The fact that they failed to repeal legislation that severely restricts the right to protest, and also that they have continued with the last government's case, sends a very worrying message about its commitments to the fundamental values of freedom of expression and the right to protest, she added. Campaigners have reported on unprecedented crackdown on the right to protest in the UK, with those most impacted including Palestine activists and climate change protesters. The campaign group Defund Our Juries said that since July, more than 40 climate and pro-Palestine activists have been imprisoned, all of them either sentenced to prison after conviction or jailed on a remand awaiting trial. In December 2023, the Metropolitan Police said they had made 630 arrests of Just Stop Oil activists in that month alone, a figure that civil rights group Liberty condemned as staggering and shocking. That's a lot of people. A report by the police watchdog NetPol found that since the start of Israel's war on Gaza in October 2023, pro-Palestine protesters have faced increasingly severe police restrictions and calls for the banning of demonstrations. Campaigners also reported that they had been referred to the government's prevent program and that police have followed individuals after protests are turned up at their homes unannounced. That's not scary. Last week, the Metropolitan Police used the Public Order Act to bar a pro-Palestine march from gathering outside the BBC's London headquarters on Saturday, after pro-Israel groups, MPs, and peers had reportedly urged Met Commissioner Mark Rowley to order the rally to be rerouted, citing concerns it would cause serious disruption to a nearby synagogue. We're on a very, very worrying trajectory, and continuing on that trajectory, Ahmed told Middle East Eye. This government has spoken about governments in other countries that represents their citizens, and yet they themselves have continued with the draconian past the last government imposed. That's the same here as America. It don't matter. Republican, Democrat, it's all gonna be bullshit. Moose, you said it best. We are screwed. And that's not the royal we either. That's like everybody. We're all screwed unless we do something about it. So we'll have to see. So finally, today in our little show thing with the Glavins. Good to see you, by the way, Moose. Hope you're doing well. So, you remember Jurassic Park when they're trying to bring back all these dinosaurs, right? And chaos ensued. Well, a U.S. company wants to resurrect mammoths, right? You want to bring back these bad boys, right? All furry and with the tusks. And they're going to grow them in Texas. Texas-based Colossal Biosciences aims to bring back from extinction the woolly mammoth, the Tasmanian tiger, and the dodo bird, and has just raised another $200 million for the projects. The startup is headed by AI entrepreneur Ben Lamb, who told Bloomberg that Colossal is on track to have a mammoth calf by 2028. We're not going to do anything until we get the genomes right, Lamb said in an interview with Bloomberg Technology on Wednesday. The company is currently in the editing phase of the project with the Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, actually ahead of schedule, Lamb said. A team of 17 is working on artificial wombs, the first of which ought to be ready within 2 years. Colossal has a market valuation of over $10 billion and has raised a total of $435 million in cash, including the most recent injection, $200 million from investor TWG Global. TWG was impressed by Colossal's significant technology innovations and impact in advancing conservation, the investor's CEO Mark Walter said. Lamb told Bloomberg that his project was inspired by forecasts that the Earth would lose 15% of its biodiversity by 2050, which have since been updated to a 50% loss. It would be better to have a de-extinction toolkit and not need it than to need a de-extinction toolkit and not have it, he said. Yeah. Critics have pointed out the project's similarity to Michael Crichton's cautionary tale Jurassic Park, which involved recreating dinosaurs. In December 2023, Russian billionaire Andrei Melnichenko said he was partnering with Colossal to develop a Pleistocene park at the COP28 climate summit in Dubai. Melnichenko described it as a way to reduce methane emissions from Siberian permafrost by recreating ice age fauna as a cost-effective method to mitigate climate change. U.S. sanctions against Russia over the Ukraine conflict put the project on ice. However, see, they put it on ice because of these. Lamb co-founded Colossal in 2021 with Harvard University geneticist George Church. Among the company's backers is the CIA affiliate In-Q-Tel. Gonna make some fed mammoths, woolly feds. Scientists believe that the woolly mammoth suffered a population collapse around 10,000 years ago at the end of the last major ice age, the Younger Dryas, with the last members of the species dying out around 4,000 years ago. Colossal's other two projects deal with more recent extinctions. The dodo, a flightless bird, disappeared in the late 1600s after European explorers introduced invasive species to its native Mauritius. While the last known thylacine died in 1936 at the Hobart Zoo in Tasmania. So, yes, please bring back dodo birds because there aren't enough dodo birds here on the planet running shit, right? I know, right? Priorities. How big would a mammoth burger be? But I tell you, I've had emu burgers. You ever had an emu burger? It's like it's very lean and it tastes like steak. It's delicious. But that was a long time ago in a land far, far away. So yeah, that's all the news that I'm willing to put up with today. So I hope everybody got your information fix out of that. Folks, I was thinking about doing a little surprise ExtraBulla show tonight. Maybe, do a little ExtraBulla tonight. And talk about this Red Note thing, right? Everybody going to Red Note and the wild response from the Chinese there. So Red Note is primarily a Chinese app, right? It's for Chinese people. And then all these Americans showed up. And they were like, woo, Americans, yeah. And now all these people from around the world are coming in because the Americans are pouring in. So, it's weird. So maybe we can, we'll have that tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time, and talk about, an ExtraBulla show. We didn't really have one this week. I was on Willie's show Wednesday, so that didn't count as an ExtraBulla show. So we're going to have our own, and we're just going to chat with you guys in the chat. Come out and join us, and talk about some of the interactions that people are having on there, and just, it could be a game changer. I mean, obviously fuckery is afoot. Fuckery is always afoot, so please, always keep a skeptical mind about that kind of stuff. But, it's very interesting at this point, to say the least. So we can talk about this tonight on the old ExtraBulla Live show there with just me and you guys. And then, of course, tomorrow night is the secret show with yours truly, me and the chickens and the Nips guy. I wasn't feeling well last week, and I feel bad about it. And so, we'll try to do a doubly good show for you Saturday night to replace it. You're gonna be taking notes. I know a lot of people don't know what Red Note's about. It's more like Chinese Instagram than anything else. So, but the people on there who they just come up to you like, hey, what's up? You American? Tell me some jokes. I don't know. But it seems like it's a really cool. The way it's working out, people are just like finding out things about China that they didn't know because they've been propagandized their whole lives, and the Chinese too. They get propaganda too about the United States. They probably think we're all like 800 pounds and riding around on one of those Walmart scooters or whatever. But some of us are, but not all of us. But anyway, so we'll be talking about that, and then secret show tomorrow night. Dumb shit. You know what we do there. there's no surprises there. It's just surprisingly dumber as it goes along. So, so that's what's going on this weekend. I don't know if Willie's Willie, you doing a show tonight? I don't think you do shows on Fridays either now, right? Did you stop doing shows on Friday? You let us know in the chat there. Of course, Around the World, Dee and Friends, she'll be on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. She's on YouTube and Facebook. We'll be back tomorrow night, like I said, for Secret Show, and then back Monday morning for this show, which is 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. Pacific time. If you do care to, you think this show is kind of important in giving you the information stuff, and you're new, if you could like, share, and subscribe, we appreciate that. We've got donation links down below too. If you want to become a Patreon member, you can be a Patreon for $1 a month. Helps out the show. Every little bit helps. There's other donation links down there too. If you can't donate, if you can share out the links, that helps out appreciatively so much. You do not understand how much that helps out. Word of mouth is probably the best advertising there is. So, hey Teresa, good to see you. America's already being banned on Red Note. Their naughty behavior on American platforms preceded them. I know, right? I'm very respectful on there. Like, I'm very nice to people. So they haven't gotten me yet, but but you knew if a whole bunch of Americans were going to be on there, those poor Chinese people were like, this is why we can't have nice things. These damn Americans, they ruin everything. Anyway, so we'll talk about that tonight. That should be interesting. So, other than that, if you're cold, stay warm. If you're warm, stay cold, or stay cool. Take care of yourselves. Stay out of the cults. Use your critical thinking skills, and think for yourself, because we're gonna need those kinds of people. Once the apocalypse hits for real, it's already beginning. So, guys, have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you when we see you. And as always, love each and every one of you. I may not like all of yous, but I love each and every one of you. Stay golden, Pony Boy. Peace out.
This is City Alpha 5! Woo!
soon.